In tonight's headlines, Iran launches over 300 drones and missiles at Israel in a major escalation of tensions between the bitter rivals. In Hong Kong, lawmakers urge the authorities to strengthen building safety rules and enforcement in the wake of the deadly Jordan blaze. And world #1 Novak Djokovic is sent packing by Caspar Ruud at the Monte-Carlo Masters.
The deafening siren reverberated across Jerusalem just before 2 a.m. local time as residents were urged to seek shelter ahead of an imminent air raid from Iran. As loud explosions were heard, Israel's dome defense system was seen intercepting incoming objects in the skies. Israeli authorities confirmed the vast majority of 300 drones and missiles were intercepted with the help of the United States and other allies. But the raid caused slight damage to a military base in the south. A small number of the drones and missiles came from Iraq and Yemen, but most were launched from Iran. Tehran declared hours later the matter could now be deemed concluded. A spokesman emphasized the operation was in line with the United Nations Charter for Self-Defense, 2 weeks after 7 people were killed in an Israeli strike on the Iranian consulate in Syria. He vowed to respond with greater force shall Israel retaliate. But the act drew widespread condemnation from the West, including Israel's staunchest ally, the U.S. U.S. President Joe Biden reaffirmed Washington's support during a phone call with his Israeli counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu. But sources said Biden told Netanyahu the U.S. will not participate in offensive operations against Iran. China, on the other hand, has called for calm and restraint among all parties. The UN Security Council is set to meet Sunday in response to a request from Israel. But there was an atmosphere of joy at the Iranian capital. Tehran residents gathered on the streets to celebrate the landmark movement. While Iran has been at odds with Israel for many years, this marked the first time it had launched a direct attack against its adversary. The significant escalation of tensions had now heightened concerns about an all-out war in the Middle East. Best Learn Cable News.
A deadly blaze at New Lucky House in Jordan last week has triggered intense debate on whether aging buildings in Hong Kong are properly regulated and maintained. While the mixed-use tower is also home to 35 licensed guest houses and about 100 subdivided flats, it was found to have ignored an order to repair or upgrade its fire safety equipment for 16 years. Lawmaker Michael Tian hit out at authorities for lax enforcement of the rules.
The building, they issued that order 6 years ago. Today, they still haven't done anything. All right, so it takes two to tango. The legislation needs to be really strengthened and toughened up, and then you have to have the enforcement.
Tian noted owners' corporations are sometimes granted more time to comply with orders, so long as they provide a reasonable explanation. But he felt there should be clarity on why and when discretion should be given. Appearing on the same radio program was fellow lawmaker Tony Tse, who represents the architectural and surveying sector. The surveyor agreed the existing fire safety regulations were outdated and required a revamp.
We have to, to amend these ordinances as soon as quickly, and also, and then the implementation and the enforcement of, the regulation. Otherwise, people, may not, pay too much attention, or, they might try to drag on some some of the requests.
As of the end of last year, the Buildings Department and the Fire Services Department have issued 360,000 fire safety compliance orders after inspecting around 11,000 buildings. Remedial works have been completed for less than 40% of the cases so far. Cheryl Yun, Cable News. Ahead of National Security Education Day tomorrow, Hong Kong's disciplined forces marked the occasion by organizing a series of events across the city. An action-packed itinerary awaited around 11,000 participants attending the Fire and Ambulance Services Academy Open Day in Tseung Kwan O. Apart from putting out real fires, firefighters also dived into a giant pool simulating a raging river, and reached daring heights on a zip line as officers from the high-angle rescue team demonstrated a rescue mission on steep terrain. Children also got a taste of the action themselves at interactive game booths. This boy said his dream is to become a firefighter, just like his father. The Civil Aid Service also staged demonstrations at its headquarters in Yau Ma Tei. A flag-raising ceremony was held in line with the theme of the Open Day. A seminar will be held at the Exhibition and Convention Center tomorrow, and Beijing's top man in charge of SAR affairs, Xia Baolong, will deliver a keynote speech via video link.
German Chancellor Olaf Scholz touched down in the southwestern city of Chongqing this morning, kicking off a 3-day state visit. The first Western leader to visit China this year will also stop in Shanghai and Beijing, meeting with President Xi Jinping and Premier Li Qiang. The German agriculture and transportation ministers are accompanying Scholz, as well as top executives from Siemens, BMW and Mercedes-Benz. China and Germany have signed a strategic partnership 10 years ago. The European Union has recently hit out at Beijing for subsidizing critical industries and creating an unfair advantage in both domestic and overseas markets. A survey last week found that 2/3 of German businesses in China had reported unfair competition. But direct German investment in China still recorded a 5-fold jump over the past decade or so.
A medical study in Australia has discovered that wheat may be used to cure melanoma, a type of skin cancer which can be lethal. The primary symptoms of melanoma include the formation of dark spots or moles, and they often appear without warning. Li Rashu, who lives in Darwin, has been fighting melanoma since 1998. The former lifeguard said he's had over 100 surgeries to cut off cancerous skin cells.
Never wore a hat, never wore sunscreen, and this is the result.
Though melanoma only makes up 6% of skin cancer cases, it is responsible for more than 80% of related deaths. But hope could be on the horizon. Researchers at Charles Darwin University and the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology found that a substance extracted from cannabis sativa plants may be able to disrupt the growth and motility of melanoma cells. Researchers are now hoping to conduct animal trials to gauge the effectiveness of the substance.
It works by forcing the cell to go to what we call it a programmed cell death or apoptosis. And that's, for us, as an initial studies done in a lab condition, it's a great result.
Proponents of marijuana has long argued that the plant is effective in treating various types of cancer. An earlier study from the Tokyo Metropolitan Institute of Public Health suggested that cannabinoids could reduce skin cancer by 90% over a 20-week period. Chinese scientists have also discovered that CBD has a positive effect in preventing colorectal tumor progressions. However, there is still a long way for scientists to prove whether marijuana is indeed effective and safe in treating cancer. But at least we are talking. Janice Yu, Cable News.